Hey guys, here we go into a quick video on Errol Spence's jab and what he was trying to accomplish with his jab in this fight against Danny Garcia. Now, Danny Garcia's goal was to get to the outside and get to the front foot and start landing the left hook. There was no way he could beat Errol Spence with only his right hand, as Errol Spence is, a bigger fighter, stronger fighter, and that's his goal. That's his plan, is to get on the line and beat you with his left hand. And beat you on the line. Now, Danny Garcia's goal was to get off the line and land power punches, either slipping to the outside of Spence's jab and landing a right hand, or slipping to the outside of Spence's jab and then coming back onto the line with the left hook. Now, as you can see here in this clip, when Danny Garcia comes forward, he's going to be shooting a jab here to this zone to push Errol Spence to the back half of his line, get his head over to this zone. As you can see, it kind of works here. And Errol Spence's goal is to do the same thing. But they're going to be attacking each other with the jabs on their front foot. As you can see, Errol Spence is about to attack Danny Garcia on the front foot. Now, Danny Garcia is supposed to slip his head to the front foot and counter with the right hand, or slip his head to the front foot and bring his weight back with the left hook when this jab comes to penetrate his line. Now, one of the dynamics to this is Errol Spence fights in a straight line, okay? When his weight is in a straight line, his weight only goes forward. That means that if Danny Garcia can get his head on either side of these places, he can easily land counters to Errol Spence's head. Now, Errol Spence, with that said, Errol Spence did a really good job in this fight of controlling the space between him and Danny Garcia and constantly putting enough pressure to push Danny Garcia off of that space. Again, trying to control this front foot. He needs to keep Danny Garcia on the back foot so that Danny Garcia can't land the right hand and he has no opportunity to land the left hook. And he does a pretty good job of this. But this clip, I wanted to demonstrate one of the reasons why. And we're going to be talking about glove placement. Now, Danny Garcia is a little bit shorter of a fighter, and his left hand was a little bit lower than Errol Spence's. But that means that on average, when they meet on the line, Errol Spence is going to have to move his glove less than Danny Garcia is. I know it sounds kind of silly, but because his glove is higher, he has more control over Danny Garcia's lead hand than Danny Garcia has of his lead hand. So Errol Spence's jab can come straight across, whereas Danny Garcia has to find a way to rhythm and get his timing up into the zone to block that shot. As we see later on in the fight, Danny Garcia has quite a black eye. But as we take a look, again, controlling that front foot, right? Pushing Danny Garcia off his line. But as we take another look, when Danny Garcia is in a similar position, he doesn't really have an opportunity to hit Errol Spence's right eye with his quick jab, whereas Errol Spence, because his hand is always up, he doesn't have to move it, right? Or, I don't want to say telegraph it. It's not a super important idea because your weight transfers, your rhythm, and your changing of positions is supposed to be what dictates that. But when you have control of the line and your opponent is sitting on the line with you, you can often disguise those punches and sneak them in there. As you can see, Danny Garcia, even if he were to sneak this shot in while Errol Spence is slipping onto the front foot or trying to get onto the line with him, Errol Spence has his guard up. He's already blocking that line and controlling that space by blocking, right? Which is a fine tactic. But Danny Garcia, you can see, his glove is not covering his eye. So when he gets into that position, he winds up eating an easy shot from Errol Spence. And it's exactly the same shot that Danny Garcia is shooting at him here. Although Errol Spence is stepping with his, Danny Garcia is using his to probe and control the space. But the line that he connects is exactly the same. And this jab here is one of the reasons why Danny Garcia may have had such a difficult time getting to the front foot to land the left hook. Now, which clip are we on? This is the one. Okay. Now, Danny Garcia didn't always have such a terrible time getting under that shot and landing the right hand. He did land quite a few right hands, slipping the jab, but he had a very difficult time landing his left hook. As you can see, again, Errol Spence coming up with that jab so high over his eye, but Danny Garcia's jab was so low, and that allowed Errol Spence to get so many more, I'll say, free punches, right? Because he allows Errol Spence to get into position to just turn this punch over and land that really quick, snappy jab right on his face. But again, one of the things that I want to point out to you is that when he shoots this jab, Danny Garcia's weight is moving over to the right side of his body, and that's pushing him away from his left hook, stopping him from being as effective for using that punch. And then again, you can see here, Danny Garcia trying to get to the front foot, and Errol Spence controlling that space. Now, again, this is a very important idea, as Danny Garcia's entire game plan was only going to be effective if he could get to the front foot. Again, it's much more important for him because he's the smaller, the shorter fighter, also the defensive fighter, the counterpuncher. He needs more access to more zones and more places to hide his head than, I don't want to say than Errol Spence does, but Errol Spence is better at controlling the line. He is fast and a very difficult fighter to fight on the line. And Danny Garcia, in order to be able to compete with Errol Spence, was going to need control of his own line and be able to bring his weight from one side of his line to the other freely if he was going to be able to beat Errol Spence. Now again, this clip here demonstrates one of the other problems that Danny Garcia had. Well, he controls the space and he pushes Errol Spence off of his line, very similarly to what Errol Spence was doing to him. But when he takes this front foot position and he gets his way to the front foot, he doesn't control Errol Spence. Now, Israel Adesanya recently said this, and this is something I've been talking and preaching about on my channel for years. When you get to the front foot, your rear hand becomes your lead hand. And that becomes the hand you want to control the space between you and your opponent in, right? So when Danny Garcia gets to this position, in order for him to set up his left hook, he has to get settled and get his feet in the correct position. And the way that he's going to do this is by using his right glove to control Errol Spence's lead hand. Again, Errol Spence has been super fast with that jab, and he needs to prevent that jab from getting into him and attacking him when he's in this position so that he can set up that left hook and start baiting shots. But when he gets into this position, he doesn't feint, he doesn't probe, and he doesn't control Errol Spence's jab. So when he gets into that position, Errol Spence just uses his own jab and controls Danny Garcia and pushes him out of that position and lands his own straight left hand. Again, this is the position that Danny Garcia needed to get into if he was going to be successful and win the fight against Errol Spence. But very similarly to Lomachenko versus Teofimo Lopez, you can't just move into this position and wait for your opponent to punch you. Because if he was expecting a straight left hand from Errol Spence, then maybe he's able to counter when Errol Spence brings his weight from the back shoulder here and his back knee this way, from here, this way, into Danny Garcia's line. So bringing his head here, and that would allow Danny Garcia to bring his head from here to this zone over here and throw that left hook into Errol Spence's head as he crosses the line into Danny Garcia. But because he gets to this position and he doesn't feint, probe, or control Errol Spence controls him first and shows him, hey, you're not safe in this position to be setting up this punch, and is able to push him off of his line. And this could have been one of the reasons why Danny Garcia had a little bit more difficult of a time getting his left hook off in this fight than normal. Because, to be honest, getting to the front foot and controlling the space with your right hand is a very, very, very high-level boxing tactic. And that's why you don't often see it, especially at the lower levels of boxing, where making a mistake like that, if you don't have the experience, you don't have the practice, making a mistake like that can cost you your whole fight. And Danny Garcia is showing that he's not comfortable yet enough with this type of tactic, this level of control, or this strategy, implementing it against the highest level opponent that he's ever fought. Anyway, if you guys are interested in learning about transferring your weight to the front foot, crossing the line, or changing positions, learning how to add power or layer your punches with power, or if you're learning about control, learning to control your opponent, learning to control their lead hand, if you're learning to spar, learning to do any of these things, check out my Patreon. It's $20 a month, $20 to sign up, and we do personalized boxing coaching. So if you send in a video, of your shadow boxing, heavy bag work, double in bag work, or speed bag work. I can give you tips and drills to get you to the next level, to get you to where you're transferring your weight, to get you to get into position 1, position 2, so you can throw right hands and left hooks, or right hooks and right hands. Whatever you want to be practicing. If you need to learn how to throw a good jab or throw a good cross, I have tons and tons of drills to teach proper body mechanics for delivering these shots with power, as well as defensive responsibility. So if you're interested, check it out. I will be having a sale this month. Maybe I'll go put that up right now. Who knows? Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And thanks.